Righto, today we're talking the Sigma 28 to 70 f3.5 to 4.5, and we're talking about the old one. It's around 30 or so years old, and in particular I'll be talking about this one over here, which is that of the MD mount variety. Well, strictly speaking, MD isn't the mount, it's actually an SR mount for the Minolta SR bayonet, and this one is not to be confused with the Minolta 28 to 70 f3.5 to 4.5, which comes with macro capabilities, which this one does not. Alright, so for reference, I'm filming myself right now with that lens adapted to the Lumix S5. Manufactured in late 1980s Japan, this lens has a UC on the front, which stands for ultra compact, which it is, and I'd say it's compact and versatile, but seeing as I'm adapting it to the S5 and also to the GH5, it's not as compact anymore. I found this one at a market and I paid around £8 for it, and it was sticky and smudgy, and after cleaning it, it's no longer sticky, but I can barely read the markings. The focus ring on this one that I own is quite loose, and the zoom ring is sturdy, but it becomes sticky at the long end. It's a plastic build, and luckily my glass is pretty clean, and it came with a UV on the front filter, so it seems to have remained protected as far as I can tell. So what I'll most likely be doing is I'll probably be displaying loads of images. Not my best work, but some images to give you a feel for the lens and the colors that it produces and the colors that they can be pushed to produce in post. So if I'm honest, I feel that the image quality, given the price that I found mine for, is above what the price point would suggest it would be. I've been impressed with the rich colors I've been able to render in good lighting situations. So I'd say it's a mighty fine lens for the price that one could find it for if they're patient with their shopping. I do prefer it adapted to the S5, where I get a more preferable use of the focal length, because adapted to the GH5, you have the full frame equivalent of 56 to 140 millimeters, which is pretty tight. So you can see that difference here with both these needle shots being at 70 millimeters on the S5 and the GH5 respectively, and both at the minimal focus distance. The minimal focus distance on this one is 50 centimeters, I believe, and it's somewhat parfocal at the minimal focus distance. You can get away with treating it as parfocal at the minimal focus distance, but once you move further away from the subject, that is no longer the case. So for example, here we are at around 50 centimeters focus distance, minimal focal distance, at 70 millimeter focal length, and then the exact same at 28 millimeters. And as you can see, I feel you can get away with that. But when repeating this at about a meter focus distance, and that is no longer the case. And here's the difference in focus relying on what I thought might be parfocal activity, which is not a thing evidently, versus the corrected focus at 28 millimeters. With regard to focus breathing, yes, there is some, but it is what it is. I'm not one to complain about that kind of stuff. And with regard to the bokeh, they're round in the middle when wide open, and then become more cat-eyed the further out we go. Vignetting is a thing with this lens, and I don't know if that's because it's adapted or if that's just a characteristic of the lens itself. Nothing a little cropping and editing, can't fix. As with all my videos about lenses, I'm not going to comment on the color casting. It's not really something that I pay attention to, because white balance correction is straightforward enough. In instances where you don't get that glowy effect from direct sunlight, the colors rendered can be quite rich and pleasant in my opinion, and though it's not the sharpest of lenses, it's sharp enough, and that type of thing is not too important to me within reason. But throughout this video you'll be seeing various sharpness or varying sharpness quality that I got with this lens, and you can make of that what you wish. And of course, in instances where the images, or if an image is soft, that is most likely or most definitely user error. It's either missed focus or maybe bad lens direction relative to the light source. Would I use this lens professionally? No, that's because I have lenses that I'd much rather use, especially for photography and with autofocus and photography autofocus under controlled light conditions, especially with video where manual focus would most probably be used anyway. Maybe you would be able to pull it off, especially in stylized type of photos or video projects. It all comes down to how you use the light that you have and how good you are at navigating manual focus. It's definitely usable. Would I recommend buying this lens? If you can get it for cheap and have the appropriate adapters, or are willing to get some adapters, or if you're interested in building a collection of usable vintage lenses, then yes. I wouldn't recommend paying more than around £15 for it, but that as well is totally a personal recommendation. It might be worth more or less to different people depending on their needs. I do see that it can go for a lot more on some online platforms, which shows that it totally depends. But safe to say, you will get decent shots if you use it correctly, like any other piece of photographic equipment. And let's leave it at that, folks. I hope you enjoyed this very short, or hopefully very short, sort of short little review or demo of the Sigma 28-70 f 3.5 to 4.5. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know if you can tell, but it's really late. I probably should have done this tomorrow morning or yesterday morning, but here we are. Hopefully this came out okay. Don't forget to keep taking photos, keep making videos, get the right amount of sleep if you can, and I'll catch you in the next video.